yeah, we're just heading to the toy fair right now. My dad loves to go to the toy fair. So yeah, boys. I don't know what else I'm doing today. That's probably gonna be the whole thing, my whole day. Some Mountain Dew ready, got some gum ready, and I got a phone ready. So no, I think I'm pretty good. I've been at the toy fair for like an hour. Unloading right now stuff. Now it feels awkward filming in there. I just don't want to. So I mean, I'll try to vlog as much as I can. But I don't know, it's just awkward. But anyways, we're unloading right now. Hopefully there's a shuttle because we parked like all the way back, so you know, it's like, I don't know.
Enter Dude Love and Cactus Jack.
Mick Foley had a lot of different personas. Cactus Jack being the super ultra violent, nut.
Bang bang!
Dude Love being the lovable, hippie, Foley personality.
The party is all over! Lord have mercy! Each of Mick's personas had their runs of success, but it was the underdog, Mankind, that Mrs. Foley's baby boy finally won the big one. Oh, Stone Cold with a chair! Don't do it! Mankind has achieved his dream and the dream of everyone else who's been told you can't do it!
You can look at Mick Foley and say, he's more like me. He looks outmatched physically, but he finds a way to persevere. So Mick knew he was connecting with the audience.
It's amazing that as much as he's beating himself up, he's most remembered for the guy who pulls the sock out of his pants.
Say hello to Mr. Socko!
I never dreamt that Mr. Socko would take off like it did. It was really just a way to annoy Mr. McMahon.
Damn it, leave! Take this crap with you.
It came at a time in my career when my body was really worn down, and having Mr. Socko really added to my character and provided some really cool moments.
All right, let's get this rocking. Please welcome Mick Foley! You guys have been so much better than that. Good job, Mick Foley here. Let's do it, thank you guys for holding back. Come on. That's it, he's going for the stage. Just before, give it all you got. Mr. Socko! Incredible. In the flesh, Mick Foley. Excellent. You want to say a few things, take questions, whatever you want.
Not really. That's great. I sat back there and watched the last few minutes of that video. Pretty exciting, right?
Yeah.
I just wish Barbara Eden could have been in here to watch that. It means so much to me. I mentioned her. I love being at these conventions. I really do. I haven't done them in a while. Some of you may have caught me when I did my own shows around to get a few at the Improv in Pittsburgh. And I love doing them, but you don't really have the time to interact like you do here. You don't have the time to like check out the guests and see people you watch when you're a kid. So I'm really enjoying myself, and I hope when we're done, over the next couple of days, you'll stop by the table and say hello. And I think it's kind of understood that when you stop and say hello, yeah. We're on the same page here? Okay.
You're on the same page. All right.
Don't just stop and say hello, all right? Make a purchase while you're there. Just trying to keep it real with you.
All right, let's get some questions rocking. I know you guys got a bunch. Really? Okay, we'll start over here.
Hold on a second.
One question, so be a short Q&A.
Oh, darn it.
Mick, how did you come up with the cheap pop, and when did you start using that?
Oh man, yeah, I'll see something every week saying like, oh, they still make all these cheap pop. Like, cheap pop's been around forever. I just kind of acknowledged it and kind of, I'd almost satirized it, by making it so obvious that I was pandering, There wasn't, and you can look at any presidential debate and they pander more than I ever did. But there's no nod or wink, there's no, hey, it's great to be here. Right here. And I did one time just to get kick out of people, I told Stone Cold Steve Austin, okay, watch what I do, because you know because obviously it was a special city for me. And I said, Steve, you know, I didn't say Steve when I went there. I said, I don't know how many of you remember this. A couple of years ago, had a big match, and I almost lost my life right here in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Everyone cheered, you know. It made no difference what I said before. It's just people are always like that Pavlovian thing. Right here, you're going to react. You know, it's the cheapest possible thing. I think what people forget, when I do return to the show, I go to great lengths to not be that guy who just relies on those reactions. I mean, we really try to create things, as we did. Me and Dean Ambrose had thought created something really special when I returned, and so it's really easy to fall back on the bag of tricks. They're there for you if you need it, and it's, you know, and it's a fun occasion. But if it's something special, I try to make sure that you know, I provide something that's memorable. May I point out, just momentarily, there's a lot of people who say they're my #1 fan, but that guy over there has proven it today. You want to stand up, young man? Would you? Want to go up here on stage with me? Bring the back. Can you bring me up the back? Yeah. Let's have it.
Oh, we got the bat.
Doesn't matter what your name is. That's funny. And I hate, what is it that you know, makes you keep coming back here? What is it about the characters that you enjoy?
I just like being here.
I think that's it. Yeah. And anyone else you want to see? No? Pretty much? All right, so what you're seeing is a young man whose life has peaked at age. All downhill from there. We really appreciate you being here, buddy. Thanks so much, man. I might as well stand, right? Okay. All right, go out. Do we have some more questions?
Yeah, right back there was one, right there. Wait till you get the mic. There you go.
Obviously, out of all the personas that we've seen, the one that I remember the most is Cactus Jack. How did you come up with Cactus Jack as a wrestling persona?
Well, Cactus Jack was supposed to be like a generic name for the generic wrestler I was going to be until I became good enough, cool enough to become Dude Love. Yeah. And Mother Nature opted not to play along with me, and I was never meant to be a Dude Love until Mr. McMahon found out that I had been this guy when I was 17 or 18 years old, and decided I incorporated it into the show. But Cactus Jack was the name I took in honor of my dad, who we used to refer to as Cactus Jack. I never thought it was like a cool name, and I never thought it was a star name. And I took it, and it stuck for 12 years. And it wasn't until I got to WWE, and at which point I had to stop being truthful because of the cameras out there, and would otherwise tell a story that might hurt my future with WWE. But Mr. McMahon was not a particularly big fan of Cactus Jack. And some of you may have heard this story. I tell it on Cheap Pops. And I'll modify it here because there's a young man there, unless he wants to put the earmuffs on momentarily. It was only last year at a wrestling convention, Bruce Pritchard told me that finally, in 1995, after Jim Ross, Director of Talent Relations, better known as Hall of Fame announcer, JR, had campaigned for me for the better part of 2 years, that Mr. McMahon finally slammed his hand out. Darn it. I'll bring him in, but I'm covering up his face. And that's how Mankind came about. One man's attempt to cover up his face.
Question for you over here, right there.
Mick, again, thank you for everything you've contributed, and not just to wrestling, but to the literary world. I've really enjoyed your books, and so my question is, what are the odds that we could get a book just full of like road stories and backstage stories? I mean, that's just like the greatest thing. I mean, as a storyteller, you really nail it when you talk about the life on the road.
You know, I've written 4 memoirs, And in retrospect, there's a reason why Winston Churchill stopped at 3. The world spoke loud and clear about the need for a 4th memoir. And I don't think there's a need for a 5th. So I suppose I have a chance, the shows I did gave me a chance to tell stories on stage. And then you saw what worked and what didn't. And you could, discard things if they weren't working, add to them, kind of find things along the way. And I had a lot of fun doing that. But I don't think I may, but again, I may write a memoir about my time. And again, I'm going to ask for the earmuffs for the kids, including you, young man. My time as Santa Claus. Okay, now we're safe. But I really enjoyed those experiences. I'd be under no illusion that it would be a bestseller, but it'd be like kind of touching, funny stories, of things that have happened with, as one of the big guys' ambassadors. So I might do that.
Nice. Question right here. Yeah.
Years have you been wrestling, and how did you start?
I thought you were going to say, how many ears do I have? I've got one left. And how many years have I been wrestling?
Yeah, and how did you start?
I started in 1985. I started setting up rings at independent shows in the New York metropolitan area. And that's where I was introduced to Dominic DeNucci, and he would train me if I was able to set up the ring before the audience started to come in. So after like months of setting up the rings, I did like 4 or 5 lessons, and and he wanted to make sure I had respect for the wrestling business. They didn't just let anybody wander into it. And then after he saw that I really had this kind of heart for it, he told me about some boys he was training here, right here in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. The truth is, had I, had a road atlas in my possession and seen how far it was from Cortland, New York, where I was going to college, to Pittsburgh, I wouldn't be up here on the stage. So I wouldn't have made that trip. But by the time I committed, I was like, it's 350 miles one way. And that turned out to be the best thing I could have, done. It was a real character builder. I'd leave every Friday, come back every Sunday, and kind of learn from the very bottom up. So, and Freedom, PA, in Beaver County, in an old elementary school that had been shut down. No heat, no air conditioning. So we froze in the winter. We were overheated in the summer, but we learned, So I loved it. I really do. I mean, I pander to every city I go to, but I do have some especially fond memories of being, in this area. Right. Young lady, you got such a huge smile, and I don't mean to pick on you, but you got a big smile, and you were like trying to say something. No, nothing at all. Okay. Is there anything you'd like? Because I'm just thinking, I'm sitting where you are. I'm looking at a 50-year-old guy wearing sweatpants, Skechers slippers, no socks, and a fanny pack. I might have questions.
Speaking of questions, we do have one over here for you. So, in your first book, you talk a lot about when you started your career, you ended up going to a gay dive bar a lot. And one song.
Where did I go?
I think it was a gay dive bar where they played "It's Raining Men" over and over and over and over again. You remember that?
I don't think that was my autobiography.
I remember this.
A gay dive bar. I only go to upscale gay bars. I mean, I've been in clubs where they played "It's Raining Men."
Yeah. Maybe it's just it's the song that I remember.
Yeah.
So I assume I associated it with that. But
where are you taking this?
What's your opinion of the song still?
"It's Raining Men"?
Yeah.
I think it's a. There was a great HBO series called 6 Feet Under. You remember that? And they had a really good, very good gay storyline. I don't mean that in a derisive way, but I mean strong gay characters. And my wife used to spend a lot of time in gay clubs when she was in New York City because that's the only place you could go where guys would leave you alone. And if you wanted to dance, you could dance without being hassled. And so she was watching it with me, and the police officer, friend, who was the gay police officer, he was doing security work for somebody, and when he called his friend, who's now on Dexter, and his friend heard "It's Raining Men" in the background, he got all upset because he knew he was in a gay club. And I had no idea what that meant. My wife started laughing, and she was like, "They play that all the time in the gay clubs." And I wasn't privy to that knowledge. So I believe that you believe I know more about the gay community than I actually do. I'm proud to say that I did my show at Santa Jim, if anyone's seen the documentary, I'm Santa Claus. I did their fall frolic, and I donated the money to GLAAD. So I'm in no way I don't know. I just know that when I kept on hearing, and the audience, I didn't know Mick was going to take this conversation in that direction. But WWE has been a very gay-friendly, we're very appreciative of all our fans, right? And I would go on and do the out-cue radio, and they were always talking about Randy Orton and Shawn Michaels and Stone Cold Steve Austin. I was like, what about me, man? What about me? And he said, you're big in the bear community. I said, what's the bear community? They're big, hairy guys who like big, hairy guys. I'm like, really? I said, I'll take it. I appreciate all my fans. I don't care what persuasion you are, what you look like. Yeah, go ahead.
Here we go. Another question.
My question for you is, the years that you wrestled, who have you gone against and you were like, yeah, I really enjoyed matches with this person, as opposed to, I'd rather set my hair on fire than get in the ring with this guy?
I'm going to tell you, the guy I was terrified of was Kurt Angle, because Kurt's a machine. And in no way, shape, or form was I in physical condition to wrestle Kurt back when I was with the TNA for a couple of years. And then when my number was called and I had Kurt Angle, I'd never been so scared in my life. I don't want, so there, there's a real dramatic drop off in the quality of matches. Kurt was such a pro, and we had a pretty good match, and the next day I showed a TV and found out another match with Kurt, like something on a pole, I don't know, we put anything on a pole in a wrestling match, And Booker was there, and he got all teary-eyed because I called Kurt aside, and the next day, third day, the TV tape, and says, hey Kurt, I just want to talk to you for a second. Yeah, what do you want? I just want to thank you for giving me something I thought I lost. He said, what's that? I said, my confidence. And then Booker was like, man, that's heavy. So I was terrified of wrestling Kurt, but it worked out pretty good. And I like to be out there with people that, I wanted to be out there with guys who had good matches. My style is pretty easy to adapt to. Like, I could have a match with the classic brawlers, like Funk or Abdullah, and then I like to take a guy like Shawn Michaels, when he was champion, and show people a different side of them, and they appreciated it. So it wasn't like because I had a certain style that I dragged other people down. I thought, they adapted to it pretty well. I adapted to their styles pretty well, but I wouldn't look good doing lucha spots, right, in my match. But I could take a luchador and have a heck of a match with them, and then it would look like they were fighting for their life, So I was always. Sandal Bergman asked me about that. It's cool who you end up meeting at these things. And so she comes from a dancing background and has had a lot of the injuries and worked with Roddy Piper on film. And she was asking me about that, and I said, how do you just, it's about getting to the finish line in a favorable manner. How you get there is all up to you. I don't care if you're like Stan Hansen and you absolutely will not talk to anybody about the match at all, and you go out there and wing the whole thing, or if somebody wants to line it up from A to Z, as long as it works, and as long as people are entertained, you've done it right there.
Question for you right here.
I know you had a couple of matches with The Undertaker, but what one was your most favorite of all time?
You want me to say the one word. You want me to say the cell match here, right here, in this part of Pennsylvania. That was the best known match, but we used to wrestle around the country. I mean, our biggest rivalry was 1996, 97. And it was a cool thing. I talked about this in my Hall of Fame speech. That you have other wrestlers, and every match is an important match, but when Paul Bearer was my manager and The Undertaker's music would start, he would roll up his coat sleeve and he'd have goosebumps all up and down his arm, and I'd show him my arm, my hair would be standing on end, like, so it was always special, you know, when you wrestled The Undertaker. But I will tell you a secret, all right? This is something like he would never do this now, and the internet's out there and all that. But it was almost like an unwritten rule that once we got like 10,000 miles away from home, he could let loose just a little bit, and you'd see a different side of The Undertaker, you know, and so that you might like, it was a thing where Psycho Sid had been in Madison Square Garden, and his opponent like bailed out of the ring, and Psycho Sid did like the chicken flapping thing, you know, like he's a chicken, you know, and Vince was there, he goes, "Is Sid insinuating that his opponent is a chicken?" And she said, "I think so, Mr. McMahon." He said, "I never want to see that again." And so I did a thing, and I picked this up from Chris Candido, a very underrated wrestler, when I used to wrestle him. He wouldn't just bail out and like walk away scared. He would run away, okay? And so that's what I did. Done with one of the pay-per-views where you actually see me rolling out of the ring and running. And I'm not a very fast runner. It didn't matter how fast I was. As long as my elbows and knees went as high as I possibly could, and I would run out of the arena. And we had a match in a soccer stadium or a football stadium in Kuwait. That's a considerably longer run. So imagine this body running 100 yards, right? Like, as fast as I could. And I looked back in the ring and I see the Undertaker go like this. So maybe in a weird way that was my favorite. But they were all cool matches. You know, he's the guy who placed me on the map there in WWE for sure. All right?
Questions here?
Of all the personalities you had, which one was your favorite?
I know which one was your favorite. You're a Dude Love. I told her, I said, "Didn't you understand? Dude Love was like a parody of sexy wrestlers. It was never actually supposed to be sexy." And she didn't get the memo. That was a lot of fun. But no, I like, you know, the Cactus Jack stuff I did. It was the guy who kind of brought me to the dance. And then in the latter day, I didn't realize at the time, because I thought the latter day Mankind stuff, the kind of funny stuff, the goofy stuff with The Rock, was taking me away from the character I wanted to be. And then we both realized, like, wow, man, like, 18 years later, people are still talking about the time we spent. Look, you guys are the greatest tag team of all time. I go, really? Facts of life. I can't do that anymore. I had like 169 that I had written. And I did remember spending a great day at Kennywood many years ago, and I really enjoyed that. It was a great old-fashioned park. You know, I think people should take advantage of that. You know, if they have the chance.
Question back here for you.
What was it like for you when you won the World Championship for the first time?
You have to refresh my memory.